Did you know that CS has different types of clubs, just like in traditional sports? And no, we're not talking about Tier 1, Tier 2, and so on. We're talking about strategy, or to be more precise, business models. Every organization has its own, often unique model, but the overall patterns are definitely there. You're watching Steam Inventory Helper. With our extension, you can claim all your free Steam rewards in just one click. Go to the points shop, hit Claim Items, and grab your loot. You might be surprised what's already waiting for you. Let's start with the basic truth. Esports is, first and foremost, a business. Everything else comes second, third, fourth. Sure, some may operate at a loss for a while, but the money will eventually run out. Or the owners will get tired of funding a losing operation because, again, it's a business. And business means profit. Only a handful of people will keep a non-profitable venture going just for fun. That's the exception that proves the rule. So, with the basics out of the way, let's move on. What are the revenue and expense items for an organization? Let's start with expenses. First and foremost, salaries for players, coaches, managers, scouts, and other staff. Second, operational costs, boot camps, gear, jerseys. Third, transfers. Add to that amortization a financial cushion, other expenses, and emergencies. Quite the list, right? Now, for income. The biggest revenue source for most large orgs is sponsorships and advertising deals. That's where the real money comes from. Second, tournament winnings. But not every team can count on those. Tier 1 is hard to reach, and prize pools in Tier 2 are usually small. Some events only pay out if you make the podium. And third, transfers. Yes, there's also the infamous 322 option, but we're all about fair play and sports ethics here, right? The thing is, 322 doesn't even shock anyone anymore. Tier 2 and Tier 3 teams get accused of match fixing all the time, and every couple of months another batch of players gets banned. Even a mere suspicion can permanently damage a player's reputation, one that might never recover. So, when looking at income strategies, there are basically two global paths for making money in esports. Option 1, win tournaments, gain fame, attract contracts, and enjoy the profits. Option 2, sell players. You likely won't win many events with a constantly changing roster, but if you can at least qualify regularly, you might get a couple of sponsorships, grab some mid-tier prize money, and then sell off the breakout stars to Tier 1 teams. Sound familiar? Fans of traditional sports will recognize this immediately. The classic model of major elite clubs and smaller organizations, not to be confused with farm teams. That's a different thing. In CS terms, farm clubs are more like academies. Speaking of CS esports, we can break clubs down into a few main types. Type 1, Grands. These are clubs that consistently compete for titles. They usually have an academy and focus on long-term strategy. They're unlikely to throw around piles of cash after a single failure. Trust the process, as the saying goes. Type 2, Moneybags. These orgs aim for titles and aren't shy about spending crazy amounts of money to get there. They want quick results. They usually don't even bother with academies. Why develop when you can just buy whoever you want? Type 3, Mid-tier. These are the steady contenders. They aim to qualify for events and make decent playoff runs. They rarely change rosters and don't make huge transfer moves. Type 4, Talent developers. These clubs focus on scouting young or unsigned talent and giving them the conditions to shine. Once a player pops off, he gets sold to a higher tier org in the next transfer window. Besides these, there are tons of stacks, mixes, and small orgs, most closely aligned with Type 4. So now, let's look at the current HLTV top 10 and figure out who belongs where. And we'll also tally which types dominate. Leave your guesses in the comments. Let's go. Top 1. Vitality. This is probably the most unique example of the first type. An elite. First of all, the organization is relatively young, on the scene only since 2018. Secondly, they already reached great heights in 2019. And, most importantly, they did it all without millions spent on transfers. For the current roster, the club paid $100,000 in total. And that's for Zaiwu at the start of his career in 2018. Apex joined as a free agent, Flames 2, Maisie 2, and Rops also moved to the team absolutely free, $0. Even the Astralis trio once joined the French org as free agents, and now Vitality is winning tournament after tournament, steamrolling their opponents. Hats off to the management. These are true professionals. Top 2, Moze. They can be attributed to the third type slowly transitioning into the first. They haven't changed their roster for a long time. 3 out of 5 players came from their own academy. The only really big transfer for this roster was the signing of Spinks in January this year. They can only be written into the elite category in pencil for now. They haven't won many trophies yet, but if they find the key to beating Vitality, anything is possible. Plus, Mo's consistently placed top 4 at recent big tournaments, mostly only losing to Vitality. Top 3, the Mongols. Same story as with Mo's. Stable roster, no transfers, consistent development which pays off with good playoff results. Still not many trophies, again because of Vitality, but there's potential. After the first map of the Austin Major, it even seemed like the young Mongols could handle the bees, but that hope quickly collided with cold reality on maps 2 and 3. Top 4, Spirit. Definitely a first-type club. An elite. Chopper, Donk, Zontix, and until recently, Boris the Razor have all been with the Dragons for a long time, and all except Chopper came from the Spirit Academy. At the same time, the org is ready to spend on transfers, but wisely. 2 years ago it was Shiro from Cloud9, now it's Zwei from Nemiga, and they don't shuffle the roster after failures but let it reach its full potential. Major winners for a reason. The entire CIS, especially Taganrog, is cheering and hoping that soon it'll be time to spam that copy pasta in every chat. Or is it only relevant for Dota tournaments? If you don't get it, check the comments. Top 5, Aurora. They can be called something between the second and third types. The current roster has been playing without major changes for a while, unlike the org itself. Buying an entire top 10 roster clearly doesn't fit the definition of a targeted replacement. But you can't call the club a full-on money bag either. Before signing the Turks, the roster often changed, but with tier 2 or tier 3 players. Top 6 Na'Vi, definitely grand. Their last major transfers go back to 2023. Despite not so great results from the latest roster, changes were delayed, even though they were clearly needed. And the change wasn't a star player signing, it was a promotion from the academy. Navi's academy deserves special praise for Bit and Monacy alone. Top 7, Falcons. Anyone following CS Esports knows what shake money means. That's Falcons. They spare no expense, buying everyone they can from everywhere. First Simple, then X Astralis, then Heroics Trio, then Nico, Monacy, and as the cherry on top, Kioske for $2 million from Spirit Academy. The org freely rotates players. Take Dexter, for example. He only played for 4 months. They haven't won trophies with this approach yet, but maybe the young prodigy Kioske is what they needed for victory. Top 8. FaZe, also a clear elite. Rain has been on the roster for 10 years, Brokey and Carrigan for at least 4. Only Frozen and Elijah are relatively new. Of course, the whole CS community hoped FaZe would sign Simple, but it didn't happen. Instead, Brokey returned. Lesson learned. Top 9, Furia, solid third type. A consistent mid-tier team with no big transfers. Yes, they recently signed Yekindar and Molodoy, but let's be realistic. That's not the same level as Rops or Monacy. Top 10, G2, something between first and second type. They don't raise their own players, they don't shy away from spending, but their management is constantly criticized, and it would be okay if they were winning, but they haven't had trophies for a long time. Though in the past, they were obvious elites. Beyond the top 10, there are a few more teams worth mentioning. Virtus.pro, Gamer Legion, Heroic and Nemiga. Virtus.pro, recently, strictly Type 2. Electronic, Icy, Flamus. All controversial transfers that cost a lot and brought no results. Flamus is now benched. According to rumors, there's total chaos in the lineup. Hopefully the old good perforator will ignite the fire in the Bears, but expectations shouldn't be too high. Gamer Legion, solid Type 4, Flamius, IM, Sui, Mizi. The org finds good players, develops them, and sells them to bigger clubs. Sometimes they even make major events. At the last CSGO major they reached playoffs. Heroic, a unique example of a Type 4 that also sometimes wins big tournaments. In 2024, according to rumors, they earned around $10 million just from transfers. For comparison, the biggest prize money in a single season is $4.3 million. Na'Vi in 2021. In a good season, an org might make $1.5 million, and Heroic made $10 million, just from transfers. Not bad, right? Nemiga. Something between Type 3 and 4, but closer to the latter. Not as big and flashy as Heroic's transfers, but names like Flamus and Zwei still speak for something. So, what do we see in the top 10? Vitality, Spirit, Na'Vi, FaZe. 4 clear representatives of Type 1. Maos, Mongols G2 Type 1 but penciled in. Falcons, the only full representative of Type 2. Aurora and G2, also Type 2, but with caveats. Furia, the only clear Type 3. Moos and Mongols are halfway to elites. In total, no organizations of the 4th type. The expected majority of top 10 teams are elites, a bit of mid-tier and only one real money bag. Overall, a totally fair power balance. Leave a comment if you're interested in a similar breakdown of the top 30 or the current state of the Tier 2 scene. This was Steam Inventory Helper. See you next time.